The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Howdy ho, everybody. Coming to you cordless. It's Thursday night, April 9th, 2026. I'm Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 336, if you're marking your scorecards at home. If you've watched this show previously, you probably figured out, I've talked about it many times, that Hot Air is my favorite news site on the internet. It's the first thing I check every day. We've had numerous reporters from there. David Strom and Ed Morrissey are regulars here. And now I'm going to introduce you to another woman who has too much good humor from Pensacola, Florida. Here's Beege Welborn. Hi, Beege.
Hey, Jim. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very, very good. So yeah, so you said you're the headline editor at Hot Air, huh?
I am. I'm the workhorse that puts those things up all day long.
Now I picked up some cues about your daily life from your writing, but are you a veteran yourself?
I am.
Yes, and you're married to is your husband currently in the armed services?
No, he retired quite a few years ago after a little over 30 years on Marine Corps.
And then you have and you were in what? What were you in?
Marine Corps.
Marine Corps. And you have children or relatives also?
We have a son who's in the Air Force right now. He's stationed in England. And he's been in almost 17 years, and numerous nephews in the Guard and in the Air Force and the Army.
So obviously I have to thank you for your service, but it sounds like you would really like doing it.
Oh, well, I always laugh because I say thank you for your service just seems so inadequate for the pleasure that we get out of it. You know, it's entirely our privilege and pleasure, like I said, especially as a Marine, to wear that magnificent uniform.
Yeah, so I'm going to plow ahead here because I wasn't planning on bringing this up right away, but first of all, I've talked about this even last night, about the fact that in the last 6 or 8 months, the stuff our military is doing is astonishing. It's cleaning up isn't even the right word. I mean, it's like, first of all, some of the technology involved is really incredible. Don't you think?
Oh, definitely. And it's a huge help to these kids as far as knowing that they can be as lethal as they can, especially if they are carryovers from the previous administration where they never had a chance to show any of that off.
Yeah, and so what do you say about that, too? I'm so pissed at the media right now. If you watch the legacy media, the general media, you'd think we were losing the war.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's way beyond bias at this point.
How you can, you balance that. Every life is precious, and we adore every single one of them. But that's what we volunteered to do. We lost our nephew in a suicide bombing at Bagram. And, having been through that personally, I know what those families are going through, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone in the world. But those kids, we wanted to be there. My husband was in the first Gulf War. All my uncles were in Korea and Vietnam, and they actually volunteered as Marines. They went before, there wasn't a question of a draft. One was a VMI grad, that kind of a thing. So that tradition of service, that warrior caste, we're exactly who the previous Army secretary denigrated so badly. That's who she wanted to clean out of the military. And now that's coming back, that pride in doing these incredible things because you can.
And how can you run a military and discourage that sort of stuff? It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, it's like it's the exact opposite of the way things should be run. It's completely counter to common sense.
Well, you can't do it and be lethal, and that's the point that Hegseth was trying to make. You cannot be the can't be the Canadian military and be the lethal superpower in the world. It's not going to happen.
Is that the problem? I mean, I talk with my friends sometime about this. It's like they can't come to terms with the fact that the primary thing about war is killing people, and that's terrible. That's absolutely awful. But if you have to do it, that's what you're doing.
That's true, and people die on our side too. That has been so scrubbed out of the national psyche. It's like my husband often says, having had his dad was a CB on Okinawa and in Iwo Jima through World War II, and you had these horrific casualty numbers, and now we're so almost cocooned away from that kind of awful toll that war used to take, that the president can actually be when those coffins, he can be there at Dover when those coffins come off. That didn't happen. That never happened until the second Gulf War. That never
in
happened.
Vietnam, we lost 55,000 people.
It was a telegram if you were lucky.
Yeah.
If you were in, someone knocked on your door, at least you got to see a face that gave you the bad news.
Right.
It's so, and over the past, when we talk about this a lot, obviously, in this family, but you've got generations, probably, I would say at least 2 generations of kids that have come into a military that have never even experienced what I went through in my 12 years in the Marine Corps. And I was never in a war situation. I was one of those tweener generations. I was in from 80 to 92. So there wasn't anything happening, but
Right.
I was still old Corps, even though we were considered, a transitional period, because I got out when Clinton did his forced drawdown. So they were booting us out left and right. And then with the Clintons, you started a gradual sort of, with the Gulf Wars intervening, kind of a shift in the mentality of how the military was going to be structured. So you had the Pat Schroeders, who we all despised when we were females in the military. It was like, I wish Pat Schroeder would come down and ask me if I wanted to be a grunt, because they never did. They always pushed this from the congressional standpoint. They didn't push it from the women who would have to do it and who
She wasn't a veteran, was she?
No, not at all.
Right. Yeah.
No, she's like Kirsten Gillibrand going off about something.
That's a good comparison. You're right. She is.
She's just a few generations removed, sort of.
Right.
People with no active knowledge of what it takes to do that, or the dynamics within a unit, or, why can't they just make a separate bed for her? No, it doesn't work like that, And, but you have a whole military that is not just the woke end of it, a whole military that's been shifted over with a whole different mindset. You've got kids now who have been encouraged to get degrees, and the emphasis has been on education and not on training, because they haven't had the money to go out and do the things they needed to do. So they've really got their work cut out for them. And I think they're making a good head start getting back to the basics. But it is a rude culture shock, not just for, say, the woke officer that they're trying to move out, also for your more senior NCOs who are kind of getting slapped in the face, having to do business differently than they've done it for the past maybe 15 years of their career.
Do you think part of the problem the problem right now with the public is that we've almost gotten too good at it? I mean, we've been fighting this war now for a month, and I think we've lost 7 people, if I'm right.
13, I believe.
13?
Yeah,
Yeah,
13.
13. So, it's not Vietnam, and it's not like you were talking about where you're losing thousands and thousands of people every day. And it's almost like, well, if they've lost 13, that's too many, but, compared to what?
And they weren't even in active combat.
Yeah,
Those were peripheral sort of, a drone landed on, and right away the howling started. Well, why did they have them in, what was it? I think they were in Kuwait or something at one of the ports where they had an auxiliary building for the fleet. And unfortunately, well, why didn't they have taller walls? Well, it came in on their heads over the
yeah,
wall. They had the blast walls that they had around my son when he was at Bagram after, his cousin was killed. But, you can't, we think we can stop everything everywhere. And the American public thinks you can stop everything everywhere. And it's just not possible.
yeah,
So I'm so thrilled that they have this chance to prove whatever we've spent on the training and the equipment, and that our kids are so good at it. That when you call them, they go because they've
yeah.
gotten a chance to do it. And it does my heart such good.
Oh, this like pulling Maduro out to me, that was almost like science fiction stuff, supposedly. And then we have these incredible high-tech weapons that they're not talking about much.
Mhm.
Supposedly when they went to get Maduro, first of all, I was talking about this just the other night about the fact that 20 of our guys killed 400 Cuban security people. 20 killed 400. And then the people who survived that, the Cubans who survived that, said we have some sort of weapon that paralyzes people on the battlefield. I don't know if it works on sound. I have no idea how it works. They're not talking about it. And then they went to rescue this pilot, and they have this thing called the ghost murmur, which apparently works off quantum physics, where they can find a single heartbeat like hundreds of miles away. I just find this stuff. I mean, I know a little bit about physics. I know how some of this stuff works.
You're ahead of me.
But just the fact that they can do it, I find mind-boggling, unbelievable. And then you have people, so they rescue this pilot, and there are people who are actively hoping the Iranians get him. It's like, what happened to patriotism? It's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, what really bothered me was the leak that let them know he was out there. Nobody, I have to do is listen to a newscaster, and they have no concept of what the airplane is. Let's mind who's in it, how many are in it, what it does. They're just reading things they're fed. And sometimes they'll try to say something, they were talking about the fighter jet the other day, an A-10 Warhawk. That is not a fighter jet. So that's the level you're dealing with. But to have someone within, it had to come from the Defense Department, say, hey, there's still somebody out there that we needed to rescue, that you just endangered his life. You made it so much more difficult for everybody who was trying to scramble and get him out of there before anybody found out about it. Now you have hordes of both Besieges, you have the Republican Guard coming after him, and everybody who's looking for a handout. So you've just exponentially made it more dangerous. Whose side are you on? I don't understand that. I don't understand the mentality. I just did a post about that this afternoon, about the leaker that they just got, who is being conflated with that leaker. And they're two different things. But she's kind of self-absorbed creature too. But she's not the F-15 leaker. But I do not understand. And she's an Army vet.
Yeah.
That escapes me completely. I mean, I can see you wanting to go after the government for something, say if there was some clandestine, program that was imperiling everybody, or, obviously, kind of a Snowden thing that always kind of tread that ground that was nebulous. Is it morally wrong? Is it, but these are your own people. These are your own people. You served with them. Why would you do that? I don't understand.
I don't either. And I have to ask you about this because you mentioned in that article about the fact You described this woman as an affluent white liberal female and awful. And you're a woman, so I have to ask you because no one's going to listen to me. What's with those chicks?
God, if only I knew. I have no. I can't even begin to understand them, and I don't. They just shriek louder when you try to calm them down, and if you walk away, they just spool off into the sunset. I just my whole premise is that I think they've been so overindulged and they're so frustrated in their own lives that they're the kid who got set in the corner to just scream until he calmed down and passed out. And
Yeah.
only they're 45 years old now or 35 years old.
Yeah, they do see them unhappy as a class.
Desperately unhappy.
Yeah.
And they're so angry all the time, angry. I don't know, how do you go through life like that?
Well, I have my theory is that our current political divide is not actually driven by any particular policy. It's mostly driven by personality type.
Absolutely.
I'm constantly hyping this. I don't understand Trump derangement syndrome. I do understand if you don't like him. I mean, I don't know a single Trump supporter, including me, who doesn't think the guy talks smack half the time. I mean, I understand if you don't like him, but I don't understand this thing about hating his guts at all costs. I don't understand that.
Well, I don't understand it driving your life.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
These people revolve around this.
Yes.
Their Facebook posts are nothing but if they find a really hateful sign, it's up and for all the friends to share. That my son was dating a woman who, foreign, but I wouldn't even get a good morning. I would get a look what your president has done now. Blah blah blah. I'm supposed to answer for something that another one of his wacko, and he does. He just shoots off at the mouth. Anybody with half a brain knows to just stand back, let it roll, and see what comes out at the other end. Yeah. Most rational people who are Trump supporters and who can see that there's a process. He's been doing this since he was elected the first time. However cringeworthy what he said is, or outrageous, for some reason, and he's the only one who knows why he knows it, it's designed to provoke some sort of reaction that he wants, that he uses later.
Right, that's right.
And I can't figure it out.
There is some method to this madness. I'm convinced of that. It
works for him.
Yeah, exactly. I have entrepreneurs on the show, and that's one thing, the number one rule of entrepreneurship is something works, keep doing it until it doesn't work anymore. That's the rule, and I also don't understand people that don't understand his negotiating process too. I mean, to me, it's so plainly obvious, you set up ridiculous roadblocks, then the other person has to act with. I mean, we go through this process over and over again, and half the public, and especially the press, and you're talking about people who, supposed quote unquote journalists who don't seem to understand anything because they have no life experience doing anything. I've been dealing with the press since I was 12 years old, and forgive me, you're one of them, but the thing is, you're a good one. These people, they're professional observers, and they never actually do anything. They have no experience doing anything, so they don't know literally don't know what they're talking about. So most of them are useless. I hate to say it.
Well, they go into it too already primed to find the outrage, instead of using what are supposed to be investigative skills, I suppose, or some sort of intuition to see, okay, let's just let that slide for a second. Where's it going with this? Is there a method to his madness? Which, okay, they don't want to admit.
Yeah.
But they would certainly come off as more honest if they did that. But when you already go in looking for the first thing that you can jump on, what are you going to do?
I do know a lot of these people, they're oriented around words because that's where they're trained, and most of them are writers. Mm-hmm. But, there's a difference between somebody talking smack, and he does. Not all the stuff makes any sense, and some of it's just crap. But also, it's the difference between that and doing crap. I
Right.
mean, we had the previous administration. All they did is shit.
Mm-hmm.
My personal opinion.
It's the truth. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the truth.
And
And
but
it was everything that they accused him of, the previous administration did.
yeah,
And
that's right.
he did it without any regard for anyone's rights, for the court system, for anything. Trump, for all that they scream about him, every single time a court has held him up, however ridiculous it is, they've backed off, they've stopped, and they've let the court system work it out. And then he goes for he's the worst dictator ever.
Yeah. Well put. You're absolutely right. He is.
I mean, oh my God, come on.
So you wrote about this about 20 minutes before we went on the air here. And I just have to talk about this guy. And I'm sorry, I can't remember. Was this California who set the toilet paper warehouse on fire?
Name, yeah. And do you know, I don't know the first thing about him. Someone said he was an anchor baby, but I have found nothing else about him other than his name. And I would hate to cast aspersions based on a pretty exotic sounding name.
Can you quickly explain what happened here? I don't know if I did a very good job.
Right. Well, this fellow with the exotic sounding name had gone, and he was very upset about his work conditions. He worked for a logistics contractor who ran this Kimberly-Clark, this leased 1.2 million square foot, I can't even conceive, warehouse that Kimberly-Clark, the toilet paper, bounty towel people, had in Ontario, California. So being a warehouse person who stacks pallets of toilet paper, and obviously this is not a $56 an hour job. There's not a lot required other than being able not to, say, throw pallets around or wreck up, a front end loader. So he was being paid $18 an hour, which I guess is the going wage there for that kind of thing. And they have it rough, but at least it's a job right now, and people are aware of this company. NFI, I think, is the company. So he made a video night before last, disgruntled as he was, and he went around to all the different little pallets, complaining as he did with his big flick, and he ripped open corners of the toilet paper and proceeded to light them off. And then he'd go down the stacks to the next one and light it off. Mind you, he's at work. There's still 20 other people at work with him as he's torching pallets all the way down through this warehouse. Well, the warehouse lights off. They get the 20 people out. It takes 175 firefighters. It was a 6-alarm fire. There was an actual sprinkler system, but because it was a paper goods warehouse, you can imagine it was like the bonfire from hell.
Right.
So all they could do is one guy said was surround it and drown it. They just poured water on it and had to let it burn. The one person who came up missing when they did the roll call of the employees at the time happened to be this guy. Guess what? They found him with the video he had made of himself with his little litany of ills as he lit the place on fire, and they arrested him. So now he's sitting in the jail there. They don't have, the place is a complete loss. All the people who also had $18 an hour jobs now have no jobs. So thank you very much. Freedom fighter.
That's actually the part, Beege, I found really interesting. The fact you pointed that out about the fact that really, if you're going to be mad at somebody, you didn't affect the people who actually are not paying them enough. You affected all your coworkers. All the people that you've now put out of work are people that don't really have anything to do with the decision of how much you're getting paid.
No, insurance isn't going to help them.
No, it's not going to help anybody.
You're in California.
Yeah.
At least an $18 an hour job did something for them. California has a myriad of social benefits that probably helped pad that a little bit. And now they have nothing. Nothing. Thank you. As of Tuesday, because of this guy.
And you said that this factory actually held enough toilet paper to service 50 million people.
That's in the newspaper report.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable.
Million people.
That's right. That's like 1/6 of the population of the United States. But we all need toilet paper. We do.
Totally.
Every single one.
And it's not just a roll apiece.
No.
And and Kimberly Clark is like, now all that's got to come out on individual trucks instead of being able to rail car to fill that place up, and then the trucks go out for distribution. Oh no! So the price of toilet paper is going up. You're not going to be able to get toilet paper if you need it when you need it in some areas there, because they just don't have the distribution available. Yeah. So thank you very much, Phila, with the exotic name.
One guy
in Southern California. I hate this guy.
He had great effect.
Oh my God.
So, okay, so you're getting paid $18 an hour, and you're right. That's not a lot of money.
Nope.
But there's another complaint of mine about the fact that nobody in America wants to do anything really hard, and yet life is hard anyway. I don't quite understand this. It's like, you might as well do something hard, because at least you may make more money. I don't know.
They don't want to do something hard. They don't want to get paid what they're doing is actually worth and what it requires. A McDonald's clerk, a warehouse, loading the warehouse is all thankless stuff, but we've all done something like that. I worked at a grocery store for $3.25 an hour.
Right.
I went in the Marine Corps. When in the Marine Corps, I think when I first got there, we made like $900 a month or something ridiculous. But it was okay. I had a roof over my head. They fed me, and I had already, because I went in older, I already had a car. So, but no, when you've got people agitating for big bucks, well, that just spirals out of control, because then that devalues the jobs that they could move up into.
Right. These are not designed to be lifetime positions. You're not supposed to do this forever.
Tell me, with today's mentality, what is that entry-level job anymore?
I literally don't know. I can't.
What's a part-time job for a kid?
Yeah.
There's everybody's full-time at McDonald's or whatever.
Right.
Where's that first step on the ladder anymore?
A lot of states have changed these laws now, so kids can't really effectively work in fast food places. It's terrible, because you're absolutely right. I mean, that was always like your first job. You worked at a fast food joint, or you're 16, 17 years.
Back at the grocery store.
Yeah, right. Something like that. Yeah. And now it's like we're all supposed to make a living doing everything. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that wasn't it. And that is your formative character building. You had to be there. You might have to wear the ugliest uniform, and people could be mean to you, but you had to be nice to them because they're a customer.
Yeah. Okay. So you just brought something up here to talk about the ugly uniform. And I put this on the list, even though I don't think you wrote this article. No, I know you didn't, because this was in the Daily Mail. About the fact that Gary Player, 90-year-old golfer, has won the Masters, I think, more than any other person. So he's at Augusta, and they have ceremonies there, especially for the previous winners. And apparently he was being interviewed by some British television sports reporter, an attractive woman. And even before she had a chance to say anything, he said something to the effect that, "My God, how do you guys work around this hot woman, this hot chick?" That's what he called her. And everyone just freaking erupted. Now I'm 70, and I gotta admit, what is women, they dress attractively, but then if you actually mention they're attractive, and I don't think there was anything offensive of what he said. He did call her a chick, but I mean, it's like shit. It's like, I mean, it was like, what the hell is it? Have we gotten to this point where you can't say nothing nice? I mean, he didn't really talk about her body parts or anything like that. He just said, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I know I want your reaction here.
See, it cracks me up. We talk about this too because Bob, he'll go to the gym after work, and he'll come home and go, "Ay, Dios mío, you know what these chicks are wearing at the gym, you know?" And then it's, "What are you looking at?" And it's like, "You." You know, you put it out there, you.
Well, everyone's mad at Blair. I don't know.
Oh, see, and he's so adorable. I can't even imagine.
Well, he's 90 years old too. Now, people online have brought up the fact, and of course, this is the problem is online, but people brought up that he's from a different era. You know, I mean, we did call women chicks. That's what we called them, you know, and so maybe he should be forgiven, but I'm thinking he should be forgiven anyway. If you're 35, I don't know if there's anything necessarily wrong with that.
You did say, I mean, you're so good. I call women chicas on the.
I know. I love it.
Time. I just sometimes people do get nose a little out of a joint. Oh, you called a representative a chica. Well, yeah.
Yeah. I also love your Swedish chef references too.
Oh, my Firk
and Arco Barco and all that stuff. I mean, it's very, very funny. It's very, very hilarious.
I'm glad. That's good. Yeah, that's what I always say. I'm up against the intellectuals there, so I'm the comic relief.
Yeah. Well, yeah, those guys are, you hold your own for sure.
I appreciate that, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, because Strom lives here in town. I'm in Minneapolis. He lives here, even though him and I have never actually met in person, but we keep threatening to do so. I think he's moving out of town at the end of this year, so we've decided we're going to do this for sure. And Ed used to live here,
right? So, I remember that.
So I don't know if that's a local deal or whatever it was, or how this got started, but.
Well, we used to call you guys the Minnesota Mafia back like 2005 or so when blogging started, really big, the blogosphere, all that. That's when I actually knew Ed from back then, and Glenn Reynolds and all those guys. And it was just, so it's so funny. And then David, I did not know, and, which is kind of weird, but I knew some of the other Minnesota Mafia types. So, and then now there's this whole between Mitch Berg and all those guys. Yeah. I've met more of them.
I worked with Mitch Berg at a radio station about 1 million years ago. So it made him sense. I've been thinking about having him on. But yeah, we worked together, but it was like a different world, because I was young once.
Oh, well, see, that's like me with back then. I could be up at 3:00 in the morning and find stuff. Now it's like 9:00. Like.
Oh yeah. Well, I got the opposite. I do stay up late still, but I'm sleeping late too. So, I got to stay up to do this. So, and I have to do it because I just have to. No, I have to ask you. You've written some stories about the upcoming 28 election candidates and about the fact that the Dems don't have anybody.
Oh God. Which I guess is a gift in itself, right?
Yeah.
Think of what we'll be writing about, but holy smokes, what a sad little roster of mediocrity and failure.
I know. I think at the end of the day, I think you're right. I think it all comes down to Trump derangement. They're so obsessed with hating this guy, they can't get their shit together.
No, no. And there's not the fact that there's not one, like I said, when I look out at it right now, the only guy that I see that's even partially competent, and I don't live in Pennsylvania, so I couldn't speak to it, but he seems to be got his act together. It's Josh Shapiro. He's a decent person. The state seems to be humming along okay. I don't see an exodus from the state like I do in other states. So based on all that, I would say Josh Shapiro, but he's Jewish.
Right. He's never going to get it. That's terrible. I know. He is the only qualified person they have. He's the only person based on the same stuff you just said, although I probably don't know much more about him either. But he's the only person who, if he was elected, I would say, okay, that's all right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I wouldn't vote for him, but I'd be okay with it, But you're right; they're never going to nominate him.
Oh my God, the foaming at the mouth maniacs would burn the cities down. Yeah. And you know what else? What happened to the Democratic Party that a decent human being like Joe Lieberman was okay on the ticket in 2000, and now you can't have a Jew.
Right.
I mean, I don't get it.
I don't think Bill Clinton would even get in the Democratic Party today. They want him. They push him out.
No, he's too crazy. You know, he's too right smack in the middle, and they're too far off the cliff. They're
some really funny things about Gavin Newsom, but it's easy to make fun of Gavin. But you know what really does bother me? I mean, and you use this example, but it really bears repeating. This freaking high-speed train to nowhere. I mean, what it's the epitome of the failure of government. What, $12 billion? They built what, 500 yards of track?
I don't even know they have that much.
It's
the track, if I remember correctly, the track that they have laid, it's the auxiliary track to get the track to the track.
Yes, that probably is. Yeah, right.
It's not a real track. It's the track for the track.
They got nothing. They got nothing going on. So all this money just goes, and then people, and I don't, at this point, I mean, this country was founded on a tax revolution. I don't understand how people, we're paying all this money and our taxes are just being wasted. It's just terrible. And then they want more.
Wasted and stolen. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Wasted I could almost handle, but stolen? No. And then they protect the people stealing?
Yeah.
No. And who was it I just saw? I wish I could remember. That's the problem with being in my dotage. Facts fly in and they blow out just as fast. But whoever it is that's doing the wealth and exit tax, is it Washington, I think? Or it might be more California, but they're trying to make up for the people that have already left. So they're going to force more people to leave. And when they leave, they're going to hit them again. So, I mean, it's just this vicious cycle.
It's a right. It's retroactive, and like if you moved out, if you lived there within a year or whatever, you still owe them money.
Yeah, they're going to send you an envelope. I'd be like,
what? Say again? What?
I said they're going to send you an envelope a year from now and say,
yeah,
boy, you could sue me.
I don't know if that's going to pass legal muster, but they'll try it.
Yeah,
and you also brought up the thing about the Trump in the courts. He's won like 95% of all the stuff.
Exactly. And he just sits back and lets it fly. It's frustrating as hell because every little judge, in robes, God knows where, thinks that they have a say over something they don't like.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I don't understand what I know it's a federal judge in some podunk town somewhere can tell the president what he can and can't do. I don't understand that, but but they can.
And then it'll get kicked back. And then the next judge will pick one tiny aspect of what got kicked back and go from there. So it's just regurgitating the same exact case over various aspects. So somehow, somewhere, the Supreme Court is going to have to come down and just put a blanket. I don't know how they do it either. Not being a legal type, Ed knows more about that kind of stuff.
What do you think about this birthright citizenship thing?
They're going to have to do something about that. I don't know how they do it, but and coming from us is pretty funny because neither my husband or I were born in the United States. So
I'm a first generation American, so I understand that.
Yeah, see, we look like two illegals getting married when we got married because he was born in the Canal Zone. And I was born in Iwakuni, Japan. So it was it was a bitch trying to get our especially my stuff, because all my mother had was a report, and it used to great big long report that they used to give you in the 50s for report of a child born abroad of U.S. citizens. And it was a great big long thing, and all I had was a mimeographed copy, which doesn't count for anything, even though it was sealed by the embassy. I guess my dad's cousin was the attaché at the time up in Tokyo. So they went up and spent 3 days up there because I was born in the base dispensary at NAS Iwakuni because Dad was a Marine, a pilot there. But the base dispensary was not on base. It was actually in Japan, right outside the gate. So I had a dual citizenship for
That's really confusing, and talk about bad luck, kind of.
it's horrible. Just horrible. And Bob's dad was the fire chief of the Canal Zone when he was born down there. So you put the two of us together and then try to explain, yeah, really, we're American citizens. We really are,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was exciting.
This is a stupid question to end on, but what do you think of Carter basically giving up the Canal Zone? That was like stupid, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
What was the point of that? I don't even understand why they did it.
It was a feel good for him.
It was. It's like we're terrible Americans and we'll give this away.
Yep. Yep. It's like Keir Starmer giving away everything. England.
Oh man, we could talk about that for an hour. I mean, since the Magna Carta, he's the worst prime minister they've ever had in like 500 years. I mean, it's unbelievable. Seriously, I read this stuff every day, and you've been writing about it too. You couldn't be that bad even if you tried. I don't understand. That's the thing. It's such colossal incompetence. I don't even understand how it even happens.
I don't know anymore that it's incompetence. I think it's malevolence. I think they came in with a specific agenda, and they're just piecemealing the place apart. I mean, they've decimated the energy sector. They're just absolutely destroying the British economy. There's they've got this influx of Islamics that are taking over, and they're basically kowtowing to them, at the expense of the native Brits. Almost any expression of British tradition is now, nearly a hanging offense.
Isn't it amazing? They put up a flag and that's considered racist. Even just displaying the St. George or whatever,
It's a hate expression. They come banging on your door.
I think you're right. It must be, because I don't think anybody could be that incompetent. I really don't.
No, and you're incompetent in one or two things. It's not across the board.
Right. What's next for you?
Me?
More headlines to edit tonight?
I've got 2 more posts to finish today, and then the headlines are always rolling. We've got them all day and all weekend long. So
I want to thank you for taking time to talk to us. It's really
Thank you for asking me.
I hope you come back. I really do.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well,
appreciate it.
I'm going to let you go now. You can get back to your work.
All righty.
We appreciate it. I talk you guys up all the time. So.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you, Beege. We'll talk to you. Take care.
All right, Jim.
Thanks to Beege Welborn there from hotair.com. And I'm not shilling for these people. It really is my favorite news website. It really is. I read it. It's the first thing I read every day. I don't know if that's because of my simpatico with David Strom. I really don't know. No, I do know. It's really, really good. They have a whole bunch of really, really good columnists there. They're entertaining, and they will give you the news as straight shooters. We also interview people from Red State too, which is another Salem media property. So you've probably heard of townhall.com. There's actually 6 town hall considered media properties, 6 websites, and Red State and Hot Air are 2 of them. So, but like I said, I'm not shilling for Red State or Salem. They don't pay me or anything like that. They should, because I need money. It's the Footnotes. This is the Footnotes for Thursday, April 9th. So, I'm actually very happy about this. I think I did this about a week ago. There's a short we have up on TikTok and YouTube describing the fact that these guys think they found another Sphinx on the Giza Plateau where the 3 big pyramids are. Buried underneath the ground, and amazingly, that short has got like a couple thousand views. I don't know why or how, but whatever. People found it fascinating, so I'm adding to it today. archaeologists in Egypt working for the Egyptian government have discovered a 3,000-year-old Egyptian scrolls in a tomb that was previously undiscovered. And this is kind of interesting. The tomb is of what they call Amun chanters. And these were I'm not kidding, professional singers of 3,000 years ago, and their job was to chant or sing to the god Amun. Yep, you heard it here first. I don't mean to make light of this stuff. I'm actually quite fascinated by the whole thing. I really am. I think, I don't know why, but Egyptology is a big deal to me. Well, everything's a big deal. That's the reason I'm doing this show. I mean, I joke about this all the time. I've taken a curiosity to a level of sickness. So, but at any rate, yeah, so that's interesting. They just found these things. They haven't deciphered them yet. Apparently they're in readable condition. They're going to translate them and read them, but they have no idea what's on them. And they found them in a large tomb that held a bunch of the coffins for their singers. So do you think they're gonna find Britney Spears emails buried in her tomb 5,000 years from now? I don't know. I don't think so. So also on that regard, and I put this in the show description today, China found out that the government of China found out that they have been majorly hacked. And we're talking about majorly. They have been majorly hacked. Especially now, this is coming from a country that runs around the world grabbing people's data. I mean, they're notorious for hacking because the thing is, and I've said this before, culturally, they can't invent anything. They have no freedom of thought over there, and therefore you don't have people putting 2 and 5 together and getting 27. It doesn't happen because they're taught not to think that way. So they have to steal whatever. They're great at improving stuff. I mean, hell, they stole the plans for our hypersonic missile and then built it before we did. It's really disgusting. That's terrible. But they did that. They built it off of our plans that they stole. And also, you can get a copy of Windows 11 on the street in Beijing for $5. So they're really good at this. But the tables have turned, and a hacking group called Flaming China broke into their government servers. And here's the thing, they stole 10 petabytes of information. Now, if you want to do some math, that's 10 million gigabytes. 10 million gigabytes. You probably have either a half a terabyte or a 1 terabyte drive in your desktop computer. Well, it's 100 of those. No, it's 1,000 of those. What am I talking about? No. It's 10,000 of those. It's 10,000 of those. And they're selling it basically to the highest bidder, which is the reason they know this is actually stolen by a third party, because governments that still steal data never bother to sell it. So they said they'll sell you the entire 10 petabytes of information for 6 figures. I don't know how much that is, but it's 6 figures of American money. So anyway, they got fucked. Yes, they did, and they deserve it. God damn it, they do. All they do is run around stealing shit. It's terrible. So it's in that line and talking about computing, and let's talk about AI. So the Anthropic AI, they have released a new version of their Claude AI called Claude Mythos. And they are not releasing it to the public because they say it's so uncannily dangerous that basically any hacker could go around. This Mythos is designed primarily to find vulnerabilities in other software systems, bugs, in other words. And apparently it's so good at it. And also, I should point out too, that because it's good at the defense, it's also good at the offense. It's good at introducing bugs into systems to make them crash. It's so good at it, apparently, they won't release it to the public. They're releasing it piecemeal to certain, I guess, 40 American companies are going to get it. And they know that, yes, it will probably be leaked, but they think even that's better than nothing. Restricting. Now, a lot of people are saying this is a publicity ploy to garner attention to their product, and maybe it is. I can't tell you. I don't know. I don't use Claude. I've never used it. I have thinking about using it for a software project. I am, because not Mythos, but what do they call it? There's another version of Claude. I think it's called Claude Code, if I'm right. That will basically code stuff for you in the language you specify, and it'll apparently it's the new version is fantastic, and so now a whole bunch of programmers are going to be out of work, because why it's like, not only that, I've heard that this version of Claude can do what would take a team of programmers like a year, can do that project in like 4 hours of computing time. In other words, you set in the morning, you tell them what they want, you walk away. And the people have used it, I've read, have said it works perfectly pretty much every time. There's no bugs in that code as there were in previous versions. But at any rate, they're not releasing Mythos to the public because they don't know, they don't think the public can handle it, and they think would wreak havoc across the software universe. So, and speaking of software universe, that brings us to our last story here, and that's Whitley Strieber, who you probably know is like, he wrote the book Communion. He's a big, he says he's been abducted by aliens numerous times. And he's touched on something here in a recent column he wrote on Substack that I have talked about too, and that is the fact that our Vice President J.D. Vance has come out and publicly said that he thinks this whole thing about aliens is demonic. In other words, that there's a religious aspect for it. And Whitley said this way better than I did. I was sitting here fumbling like an idiot trying to come up with some good words. And I should have thought about it ahead of time, and I do, but still, sometimes it escapes me. So he said, he compared this to when the Spaniards came over and confronted the Aztecs in Central America and South America, 500 years ago. The Aztecs thought the Spaniards were gods, even though there were like several million Aztecs in that civilization, and there were only about 500 Spaniards on the boats. And not only that, they were not doing very well. They were basically, if they hadn't run aground within 2 weeks, they probably would have dead of starvation or scurvy. They were in really bad shape physically, but they were a different skin color, and they had never seen the Aztecs had never seen that before, and they just assumed these people, and they never seen boats. Basically, they assumed these people were gods, and that assumption alone basically killed their civilization. Strieber, and this is true, Strieber brings us out about the fact that it's not that they did anything particular, although eventually they did, because they realized the Aztecs were going to do whatever they want them to do. That didn't take very long either. But just the fact that they thought they were gods and that they were unapproachable and could not be questioned, basically, the Spaniards run amok, and basically it ended up destroying the Aztec civilization. And he thinks there's a possibility that if we ascribe godly status to the extraterrestrials, they will do the same thing. And I think he might be right, because they aren't gods. Strieber talks about the fact that he met the previous Pope, or actually I think it was Pope John Paul II, years ago. And by that point, his story is very public. And he was talking to the Pope and telling them both the highs and the lows about his abduction experiences. Basically, in 2 sentences, Strieber says he was abducted against his will and was scared shitless at the beginning, but after a while started to get to know these quote unquote people, and realize that they have their strengths and weaknesses just like we do, even though they're way more technologically advanced than us. But that doesn't mean they're ethically advanced, and Strieber points that out. And he said that the Pope told him very appreciatively, they're children of God, just like we are. And they are. That's correct. They are children of God, And so to think that they are God or satanic in and of themselves, I think that's a bad assumption. I think Strieber's correct, and that's what I was trying to say before too, except he did it much more eloquently than I do, and that's the reason he's got all the money. So, yeah, they're not gods. They aren't gods, and they aren't Satan, because Satan is basically the anti-God or the antichrist. So, it's either way. You got one or the other. They're gods either way, and they aren't. They aren't gods. They aren't. They are way more technically advanced than us. But and everyone who seems to interact with these people, quote unquote people, seem to think that they're although you wouldn't know it originally, they seem to have emotional lives which are very, very akin to ours. Um, the little gray aliens are not real people. this is a this is the part that gets really confusing. That they're basically biological robots, and we've started to figure that out now. So essentially, they have no emotional lives. So they come off as very cold, but that's because, like I said, they aren't real people. They aren't. But the people behind them, the people who develop them, the taller gray aliens, they are people and seem to have emotional lives basically like ours, apparently. So other than the fact they're who knows how many they might be 2 million years ahead of us. I mean, I it's unbelievable. If you stop thinking about it. And I always talk about this because I really think this is important for everyone to realize this. We've only had working electricity for 150 years. Now, I put that article about that story about the Egyptians and the scrolls at the top of this. That was 3,000 years ago. We had civilization 3,000 years ago. We had no technology to speak of. No electricity, nothing that you would consider modern in the least bit. Although I shouldn't bring this up because I'm getting off the point here. There's some evidence, there's a lot of evidence that the main pyramid at Giza the basement was flooded with hydrochloric acid, and the only reason you do that is to create a battery. But and this is verified. We have found batteries, ancient batteries that are in jars in ancient Egypt. We've never found anything they've connected to. Apparently, they used this electricity to electrolyte and electroplate metal, which they did. We know they did that too. So they had to have a way to do it. And apparently, they figured this electrical thing out. But they still didn't have what we would call working electricity. We didn't have working electricity in the 1860s or 70s. And it was really crude then. You've only had your iPhone for less, I think right now, 19 years. 19 years you've had your iPhone. We take it for granted now. I mean, there's kids who are growing up who never knew that not having it. But it's only been 19 years. And people say, well, we can't fly. You can't fly past the speed of light. Well, give us 1,000,000 years. I bet we'll figure it out if we don't kill ourselves. So who knows how far ahead of the curve these people are technologically to us. And that we have to keep that into that has to be taken into account. But as Streeper said, there's ethically that doesn't mean they're ahead of us either. It doesn't, and it doesn't make them gods. It just means they've had more time. They had a head start. So I agree with Streeper here that I think Vance's assumption or thoughts on this is frankly could be very dangerous. Strieber ends his column by saying it could be the last mistake we ever make. And if you're going to compare us to the Aztecs, well, they went to hell. They disappeared. And the amazing thing, like I said, they didn't disappear because of brute force. They disappeared because of what they thought. They thought the Spaniards were gods. And when the Spaniards realized that the Aztecs thought they're gods, well, we can do whatever we want. And they didn't stop them, and they didn't. And they did do whatever they want. They pillaged the place and killed hundreds of thousands of people because basically the Aztecs rolled over and played dead. So are we going to do that? I don't know. We shouldn't. We shouldn't do that. A friend of mine asked me, he watches the show, and he tells me he doesn't buy any of this UFO alien stuff at all, none. And he says to me, okay, he says, let's say you're right. Let's say these things haven't come in here. When the president or somebody in charge tells us and announces it, what am I supposed to do now? Not go to work? And I said, no, the exact opposite. We'll just carry on with our lives, because that's, it will be important news. It will, and frankly, probably the single most important thing news humanity's ever gotten in history. But still, go about your life. It's not. That's what's going to happen here. I just lost my train of thought. That's terrible. Okay, we're gonna have shows next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm taking next Thursday off. Have to. And we don't have guests booked, but we're in the process of booking them. We'll have a show on Monday, and I don't know who it's going to be yet. I have some. We're arranging stuff and moving stuff around. It's like a big giant puzzle, folks. I keep telling you that's the hard part about doing this. It isn't actually doing the shows. It's actually booking the guests. So we'll see you on Monday. So I want to thank Beege Welborn again. That was just a delightful woman, and interesting to talk to somebody from a military family going way back too. I don't know if you caught that. So we'll see you on Monday, folks. You guys have a nice weekend. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are. And good night to you, wherever you may be. Have a good weekend, folks. We'll see you.